Good afternoon, everybody. This is Bill Ellsworth. Thank you for joining us here this afternoon for the GCU presentation on our Medicare supplement product. Guys, gals, we are getting a lot of feedback on the rates on this program, so we got a lot to cover. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Again, thank you for joining us. If you see the upper right-hand side of your screen, there's a little orange icon up there. If you have any questions as we're moving through the webinar, I've got Todd Weiss on the other end. He's a licensed agent also. And if you have questions, just go ahead and get those into him, and he'll try to answer them as we move through the webinar. And then you can get back to getting the rest of your week wound up. So let's go ahead and get started. Again, GCU, a little history about them. They're located in Beaver, Pennsylvania. They're a family-oriented organization, got a very, very good history and background. They have a financial interest to their members because, again, it is a fraternal, and its roots extend back to 1892. Have a large balance sheet. If you take a look at this right here, assets in 2013 were a shade over $1 billion. That increased by another almost $200 million the following year at $1.197 billion. So it's not a small company, and just been around a long time, and a very, very customer and agent-oriented company. So I think you'll find it pleasurable to do business with them. And if you ever have anything that we can help you with, by all means, don't hesitate to contact us. Here is the current offering for this GCU Medicare supplement offering. And as you see, not a lot of states on there. We've got several states approved already where we filed product. We still are waiting on Virginia. I'm 63. Hopefully by the time I'm on Medicare in 2 years, Virginia will come online. So we keep working with them. North Carolina is approved. There's a little certificate of authority issue that we are working on to get straightened out, but hopefully North Carolina will be up and running very soon. You will see also that all states offer a discount. We'll cover that a little bit more in the future. And while that doesn't look like a very big offering right there, if you take a look at this slide right here, this is projected on phase 2 rollout for this product. Guys, gals, this will be a product that will cover just about every state in the union, probably in the low 40s is what I would project that we will get out and running by the end of 2016, early 2017. So this is a national campaign, and we are really, really starting to see the supply orders. You know, we're just getting started here, getting this product on the street. But we are seeing the supply orders go out, and the business is now starting to pick up. It's kind of, when we're processing business here, we see, you know, you go a week, 2 weeks, and it's at a level number, but then you see it starting to pick up, and then you'll see it double. Then you'll see in a couple weeks that number double. So the pattern is good, and we're looking for a lot of good things with the GCU Medicare Supplement Project. So why would you want to be contracted with GCU, which stands for the Greek Catholic Union? By the way, you don't have to be a Catholic to join. I'll go ahead and cover that because I know somebody's going to ask. They don't ask anything on the application, are you a Christian, or anything at all like that. So why would you want to be contracted with GCU? Well, most of you on this webinar are contracted with GCU at this point. But not only do they have a very good Medicare supplement policy, they also offer a lot of good life and annuity type products also, which we'll cover in a different webinar. Scott Luster and Deb Tatro will be, I think, in our office here next week. They're from the home office in Beaver, Pennsylvania, and we're going to be talking about the different levels for their life product offerings and some things we need to get that on the street. So first off, the rates that I'll show you here in just a minute on our F&G are very, very competitive. They do offer a household discount, not a husband and wife discount, in every state. You can contract today, and as long as the state's approved and you have a clean history, in other words, you don't have vectors or outstanding tax liens or child support issues, things like that, guys, gals, we can have you approved in 24 to 48 hours, and you can get to writing business very, very quickly with our processes here. Got a great agent portal access for the agents, a very solid foundation financially with this company. Have several ways that you can onboard app business. You can do it over the telephone, just like I'm talking on the telephone right now. If you were a policyholder or prospective client and your health had been screened, I could probably have you approved and a policy number in your hand in anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes, depending on the avenue I chose. membership becomes with the first piece of business. So very, very good little offering here. So again, hopefully we can answer any questions you might have here today about GCU. There is a bonus program. Not going to spend a whole lot of time on that. It's for brokers, and if you're an LOA, you would want to talk to your agency to see how that affected you. Arizona. Start with Arizona, and I think I'm going to show you a map here on Arizona on how we got this thing priced out as far as the area factors. I think you'll like what you see. If you look at GCU, they're coming in at 120 at age 67 and at age 137 at age 72. With a 7% household discount, that takes the 120.88 down to 112.42, and your age 72 comes down to 127.60. So that's an extremely competitive product in Arizona. Now take a look, before I go to the next slide, a couple of things here you want to pay attention to. First off, the effective date over in the right-hand side of the screen, and then the next area is right down here, female, non-smoker, lowest area factor. And again, we're talking about age 67. There is a reason why we banded our rates from 65 to 67. It's the same price at age 65 as it is 66 and 67. I've been selling Med Supp for 31 years, and the thing that I have heard several times in those 31 years is when I'm turning somebody 65, I'm sitting there talking with them, and I've done my discovery, and I found out that you know, they're paying quite a bit for a major medical, and their major medical has a $5,000 deductible, and then we start, you know, talking a little bit about their health for various reasons. And the comment or the conversation kind of goes like this: well, you know what, Bill, about the last 2 or 3 years, I've really been fighting this hip. I got a hip here that I need to have surgery on. The doctor told me I needed a replacement, but I've got a $5,000 deductible on my health insurance plan here, and I've been living with the pain for 2 or 3 years. I can wait another month or two till when I turn 65. I'll get the Medicare and a Medicare supplement, and I won't pay anything out of my pocket. So that's kind of why we didn't go ahead and squeeze these rates even better at age 65. Kind of want to take that bullseye off our back. So hopefully that will help us, you know, admin this rate to where we can protect it and give you a competitive advantage out there in the sales field. So again, if you have questions as we move through here, do not hesitate to ask. Arizona is also a state that only one person has to apply to get the discount. We'll talk about that a little bit later when we get to that portion. But if you look at this map, we created this map, and we have maps for every state should you need them, maybe for your, if you're running a broker situation or an LOA situation and you want these maps for your sales force, we have these created and can get those out to you. But this is pretty handy when an agent gets in and he starts looking at this map. He said, whoa, well, the only area is just a small area in Phoenix that's actually an area 2. Most companies include, if you go about 400 miles south of Phoenix, down around Yuma and those places, it's still area 2. We got our partners to agree that we're only going to have one area 2 rating. That's going to be the Metro Phoenix area. So with that said, depending on where you sell in Arizona, you really do have an advantage by being able to quote area 1 rates versus area 2. Even at 138.70 in area 2, it's still a very, very competitive product. So again, we're trying to, you know, help the agents out there make a living selling this product. Illinois, another state that we think we're going to do quite well in. Illinois, we offer the 7% household discount, and if you look at our rates at age 67 and 72, we're coming in at 112 and 133. For that 7% household discount, that drops us down to 104.97 and 124.97. So very, very competitive in Illinois. Indiana, another area to where we think we're going to get a lot of business out of. We're at 114. State Mutual's at 115. They also have a 7% household discount. Manhattan's at 117. They also have a 7% household discount. And they all three kind of launched right there in the same area, as did CSI. So Indiana's a big state. Again, when you offer some of the things that GCU offers as far as the quick contracting. I got a situation we're trying to get a lady in Missouri contracted with Stonebridge. Been working on it for almost 6 weeks now. They keep wanting more and more information. We just don't have those issues. And when you can onboard an agent's contract that quick, and then we can onboard the agent's business about that same speed or maybe even faster, gives you some competitive advantages out there. And I'll go over a couple of those as we get into the application. Ohio. Again, guys, gals, we have these rates, those maps that I showed you in Arizona for all states. If you're interested in those, just send a little request in there to Todd. He'll go ahead and get those out to you. In Ohio, we're coming in at 122, and if you look at across the board at 72, we're at 144. If you throw the discount on there, we're down to 113.61 and 134.83. So very, very competitive in the state of Ohio. Shenandoah also is right there with us in the same price, but our discount's 2 points higher, and that does help us. Another thing you'll want to look at there is the effective date. Shenandoah is coming up on their 1-year anniversary of having that product out there, so there's a strong chance that maybe they'll have a small rate increase in the very near future. Medco's the same way. We think probably you'll see a small uptick in the Medco premium here in the very near future. Pennsylvania, home state for GCU, very competitive. Medco's at 127, we're at 126. We're coming in at 117 with the discount. Now, if you go across to age 72, Medco's got us beat a little bit, but again, look at the effective date. They're about 13 months into that rate. If you've been in this business for any length of time, you know it's not uncommon for companies to have a rate increase on an annual basis. I assure you that if you are living in an anniversary or an attained age state at the 1-year anniversary of a policy, if they don't get a cost of inflation rate for the Medicare deductibles and everything changing, I assure you they're going to get their attained age rating. So all that comes into play when you think of these numbers, but we think we're in a very, very good spot in Pennsylvania for several years to come. So if you just want a copy of all the rates and the discounts, we've got those printed out here real quick. You can kind of pick your state out there. Another area where we think we're going to be really competitive is Virginia. We're going to come in at 104.90 with a discount on a Plan F. We're going to tip the scales at 97.56. And then North Carolina will also be I think, a very competitive state. The way Virginia and North Carolina are going, it'll probably be AEP before we get those up and running, but hopefully not. We thought we had some good news on North Carolina today, and we're still working on that. So hopefully by the time I do the next webinar on this in 2 weeks, North Carolina will be accepting business. Okay, so I get asked a lot, well, what do you mean this is an express application? Are you talking about an e-app or a pre-qualification call? Or what are you talking about? Well, guys, gals, it's not a drug screen or a pre-qualification call. It's not an e-app. The Express app is a situation to where we can complete that application in full over the telephone. And when I say in full over the telephone, what I mean by that is at the end of a phone call, once you've been on the phone with the underwriting department, once the underwriting department has been on the phone with your policyholder, at the end of that conversation, the policy number says, the underwriter says, Bill, your policy's approved. Here is your policy number. So what I'm saying is you have a policy number issued to you at the end of a phone call. So that takes out the guesswork, did I get approved or did I not? We don't require any paper except for a replacement form where it's necessary, or if you're in Illinois, or I think when we bring Kentucky on, those 2 states do require a comparison form. The only 2 states that I know out there that are doing that. And we're working on workarounds on both of those. The application is very simplified underwriting. We're looking at about a 96% issue rate. And if you're doing open enrollment or guarantee issue, you can be in and out in 15 minutes start to finish. Now, I do have what I call a cheat sheet made up that helps prepare you and the policyholder for the interview. We'll try to get that out to everybody listening here today. So guys, gals, this is about as important or about as close to an instant issue Medicare supplement policy that you'll ever see. Some of the benefits to you and me as agents and our policyholders is immediate results of a sale. So let me kind of clarify that a little bit. At the end of your phone call, you're going to be told by the policy or by the underwriting department whether it's approved or whether it's not. Now, I'll explain that a little bit more in detail as I get on into the webinar, but let me just give you one example. Have you ever been in a situation to where you went and wrote a Medicare supplement policy on an application, or maybe as a final expense or something else, and you find out 2 or 3 weeks later that, oh, by the way, the insurance company just declined that application? So as salespeople, that creates a couple of challenges for you and I. First off, we got to get the policyholder back on the phone, and we got to say to the policyholder, well, Ms. Jones, just heard from the insurance company, and looks like we did not qualify for the Medicare supplement. Now, I'm going to be back over in your area tomorrow morning or Friday afternoon. Would either one of those 2 times work for you? And the conversation on the other end of that phone goes something like this. Well, Bill, I hadn't heard anything for quite a while, and I was getting pretty nervous. So what I did is I just went ahead and paid my other policy, and I'll just stay where I'm at. But I really appreciate you trying to help me. So I know if you've been in this business for any length of time, you've had that happen to you. I know I've had it happen several times in the past 31 years. So imagine, my point being this. If we get a decline, and you're sitting there at the kitchen table with Mr. and Mrs. Jones, and one of them gets declined during your interview process, wouldn't it be better while you're sitting there face to face with them and you've already had a fairly decent conversation with them to be able to reach back in your kit and say, you know what, Mr. Jones, looks like you're not going to meet the GCU underwriting qualifications, but based on what we have discovered here and what you're paying for your current premium, we still have a couple of really good opportunities. First off, that's a time saver for your policyholder. It's also a time saver for you. You don't have to get back on the phone 2 or 3 weeks later. And even if they say, yeah, Bill, come on up, then drive back to that appointment, spend more time and gas on something that you already thought was sold. And, you know, in our business, time is money. So another really, really good benefit of this is, let's say you get a policy issued over the telephone. You know it's going to issue. The policyholders tickle pink. They love it. And they're going to go ahead and issue the policy. Well, it makes perfectly good sense that that's going to allow us to speed up getting your commissions paid quicker. Now, we haven't heard any agent complain yet that, hey, you guys paid me way too quick, and you just, you know, take that money back and give it to me a couple of weeks later. I'm not used to getting it that quick. Not a problem. Commissions get paid out regularly on a regular basis. They pay daily, and that does help a lot in keeping our cash flow as running our businesses fluent. Less mistakes on the application. In 31 years, I've made a lot of mistakes on applications. I've worked with a lot of people that have made a lot of mistakes on applications. It's pretty easy when we get under the gun and we're maybe late for our next appointment to bypass something that we need to get filled out on the app and we don't get it done properly. With a telephonic app, pretty hard to do that because the underwriter's filling in the application as she moves through the application. So unless she misspells a word or something, a name or something, very seldom will there be a mistake on the application. Any required information will allow her to move to the next required field until all those are filled in. So less mistakes on the application is also a time saver. It keeps your business from going into queue. I'm going to buzz right through this part right here real quick, kind of go over the application with you. Very simple application, not a whole bunch of little bitty small boxes you got to put letters in. The first part is, of course, your personal information. Second part is your plan selection. We offer A, F, G, and N in most states. There's a few states that require us to offer a couple of other plans as a requirement. And generally speaking, guys, gals, the tobacco question will be right here in the Part 2 plan selection. Should you live in a state to where you don't see that question there, it will be established with the health question. Some companies or some states require the tobacco question to be part of the health application. So, but 9 times out of 10, you're going to see it right there in Part 2 of the plan selection. Part 3 is your Medicare eligibility questions. Are they under Medicare? If they are, put the dates in. If they're not, put their eligibility dates in for A and B. Then you're going to go into all your Medicare and insurance information on Part 4 of the app, and that's, are they on Medicaid? Will Medicaid pay the premium? Then when you look at 3, 4, and 5, 9 times out of 10, one of those 3 will be checked yes, and the other 2 will be checked no. So if you check yes on number 4, do they have another existing Medicare supplement policy? You would know they're not on number 3, which is a Medicare Advantage, or number 5, which is the group information, or the group insurance portion. This is something that you guys really need to be aware of. Part 5 is the general information located on page 3 of the application. Very important if you're doing a telephonic app that you have covered this with your policy holder. If you say, no, I haven't covered that with them when they ask you, the agent, that will stop the interview. If they ask the policyholder, if you're doing like a 3-way call, did they cover this with you, and the policyholder says no, that will stop the interview. So here's how I cover this when I do it. If I'm face-to-face, I cover it kind of like this right here. If I'm doing a 3-way telephone call, I cover it a lot like this right here. I tell my policyholder, I said, Ms. Jones, number 1, you do not need more than 1 Medicare supplement policy or certificate. If you buy our policy or purchase our policy, you've got to always want to evaluate your current situation to make sure this is the right thing for you. Make sure you don't have duplicate or multiple coverages. And Ms. Jones, you may become eligible for benefits under Medicaid and not need a Medicare supplement. Now, if that happens, you have certain rights and privileges afforded to you, and I want you to call me if something happens in the future that you end up on Medicaid, and I will go over all your benefits at that time and make sure that you get the proper coverages that you need. And then I turn this around and I let them look at it. And if I don't, I tell them I will send it to them. And that way, when the underwriter, if the underwriter says, Ms. Jones, were you shown the required information of the general information located on page 3 of the application, I've had clients say, I'm not for sure what you're talking about. At that point, I'll jump in there and I'll say, you know, Mr. Jones, that's when I told you you do not need more than 1 Medicare supplement policy. And once I say that, they always say, oh, yeah, I know that. So just make sure you cover that with your policyholder, because I assure you that will be brought up. Generally, they don't ask the policyholder. Sometimes they do, but it's 9 times out of 10, they will ask you during your agent interview portion. Part 6 is a state-specific information on guarantee issue. And again, those are all state-specific. Some states that require more than others. So if you're doing a Missouri app, it'll be specific to Missouri's GI rules. And then you get into Part 7, which is the household discount. And to get the household discount, they have to answer yes or no. And if they answer yes, are there between 2 and 5 adults over the age of 30 living in the home, yes or no? And the name of the other adult living in the home, and we verify their Social Security number through a Social Security database that lets us know whether the agent is being honest. That's the way we can verify that, yes, that Social Security number does exist. So that's what we do for the household discount. And Part 8 is your premium payment and admin situation. And then you're going to go into the health questions of the app. It is a yes-no application. There can be some leeway on the questions down here. Number 4, if you have diabetes, do you have any of the following conditions? Diabetic retinopathy, peripheral vascular disease, neuropathy, any heart, including high blood pressure or kidney disease. And if you look at your underwriting guide, you will see, and I would encourage you to do that, it's on your agent portal. If you look at your underwriting guide, what we're looking for diabetes in combination with blood pressure, they can take 2 diabetic medicines, oral diabetic medicines, and 2 blood pressure medicines and still be eligible for coverage, as long as those are established and have been in the home for 2 years on those medications. What we're looking for that's going to red flag that is if, well, they were taking metformin, and then all of a sudden 3 months ago they had to be put on gluburide also in addition to metformin, then we know there's a control issue, so that'll be a red flag just so you know going in. That'll probably get you a decline real quick. 50 units of insulin, more than 50 units of insulin will get you declined. It says right there, do you have diabetes that's ever required more than 50 units of insulin daily? So make sure that you ask that question if they're on insulin. If they're taking 35 in the morning and 35 at night, that totals 70. That's not per time, 50 per time. So make sure that you understand that if it's a maximum of 50, it's a decline. So pretty simple, straightforward application. And the bottom portion of that is the prescription drug history, the reason they're taking it, and the date they last used it, the month and the year. Go ahead and put all that on there, on their past 2-year history for sure. It could be a situation where maybe they were given a drug for just a short period of time and then the doctor took them off of it or something like that. But give as much business or much information as you possibly can on the prescription history. And guys, I always tell agents this: if you have a policyholder that maybe has had a few health history problems, but they have recognized the need to change lifestyle, and they say, well, yeah, Bill, I'm exercising. You know, I had this issue a couple of years ago or maybe a year ago. I now am walking 2 miles a day, 5 times a week, and then I also lift weights every now and then or ride a bicycle, and I'm taking a lot better care of myself, something like that. Find a place on that application and put that on there. Let the underwriting look at the entire individual as a whole, not just maybe based on a health question. So as much information as you can give Jose's team in the underwriting department, that will be helpful to you and I as we try to place business. This is just the agreement and signature page. You guys have seen all of these. I'm not going to spend any time on it. I want to talk about submitting business. 3 different ways to do that with GCU. We got a face-to-face as far as a paper app goes. We got a telephonic express app, and we got an online express app. And guys, gals, you can use these in any combination. I've done face-to-face and then followed it with a telephonic app, and I've done face-to-face, come back to my office and submitted it online. So they all work. So for what I'm going to cover, I'm going to primarily talk a little bit about the face-to-face because it's kind of the nuts and bolts of the whole process. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to call the underwriting hotline. That's right there in front of you, 866-579-3418. You don't have to worry about writing any of this stuff down as I move through it. We will get it all to you, and we are recording this. It will be available on the agent website. Then you're going to complete your agent process, and what's included in that is the following. The underwriter, the tele-underwriter is going to ask and verify the following. They're going to ask your agent number. Once you give them your agent number, that will let GC know what license states that you are okay to sell in, whether there's appointment problems or issues. If there is an issue, it will not kill the interview, but at the end of the interview, the underwriter will say, hey, Bill, looks like you haven't renewed your Texas license yet. You need to get that done so we can get this policy issued. It will hold up getting the policy out the door because you got to get all your stuff in order before we can do that. So they will tell you at the end of the interview if that is an issue. They're going to ask your applicant's name. They're going to ask you for an effective date. They're going to have to ask you what kind of a bank draft date do you want and where do you want that policy sent. Do you want it sent to you or the client? A lot of times if I'm dealing with, say, this is what, the 5th of August, let's say we go down the road to the 28th, 29th, or 30th of August, and I'm sitting there talking to a man or a woman, and I find out that they're getting a really, really big rate increase September the 1st. And here it is already the 28th or 29th day of August. So that would, let's say it's a 28th, that's on a Friday, and they're facing a big rate increase. So I now have the ability, guys, to get that policy approved, and once I get that done, I know that I'm going to want that policy sent directly to the policyholder because I want to get that ID card in their hand as quickly as possible. If it's earlier in the month, a lot of times I will have it sent to me, and I'll give me another opportunity to call that policyholder and say, hey, I got your policy in. If you have any questions, you know, go ahead and call me. I'm going to stick my ID card in there. It's got all my contact information. Just another way to touch base with the policyholder. So you can do it one way one time and one way the other on where you want that policy sent. They're going to want to know what the city and state the application's taken in. If you're replacing another carrier, they'll get that. And at that point, they're going to say, okay, Bill, we're ready for the policyholder. Go ahead and put the policyholder on the telephone. Now, guys, here's what's going to happen once that policyholder picks up the telephone. Now, you remember that app that we looked at? And it was in sections, part 1, 2, 3, and so on. Now this underwriter is going to go ahead and start going back through all that, and they're going to fill it all in, type it all in, verify all the information that I've given them, and at that point, they will get you a policy issued. Now, if you come down to number 7, and you look at, I never was very good in math, but if you look at number 7, the way I count, or the way the app's laid out, 8 is before 9. I got 9 before 8, if you see right there. Well, the reason I did that is because I want you guys to understand, if you've never done a telephonic app and you're face-to-face with your policyholder, here's how this will go. They will ask the medical questions before they ask anything about premium. They'll ask the verification for the health questions and the drugs they're taking. So as you're sitting there and you hear your policyholder talking to the underwriter, and the underwriter says, okay, Ms. Jones, that's the end of the medical and health questions. We'll proceed to the premium payment administration of your policy. Once you hear them say, they'll start verifying the bank routing code and the account number. At that point, you know, sitting there listening, the policy's approved. However, if you hear them go through the medical and the medications list and they say, okay, Ms. Jones, I need to speak to your agent, guess what? You now need to be going back to that first part that we talked about, reaching into your kit and say, okay, Ms. Jones, it looks like we're not going to get approved here, but based on prior information, let's take it, I still think we've got some good opportunities here. Let's take a look at a XYZ company or maybe AARP, a little bit more liberal in underwriting, but still I think we can save you quite a bit of money. That's just for your information. If you hear premium information verified, you can rest easy. You know it's a sale. But if you don't hear it, you know you need to reach into your kit and get your Plan B ready to go. Okay, so if you have any questions on that, go ahead and shoot them in. Todd's very good at getting those answered. Okay, now at this point, guys, here is the most important part of the entire telephonic enrollment process. Let's say that you heard verification on the phone of the banking information, things like that. And she says, okay, Ms. Jones, let me speak to your agent real quick. So the phone comes back to me. Now, I never call on a policyholder's phone unless they have speaker capability. Because when this phone comes back to me, I'm going to hit the speaker button because there's going to be stuff that goes back and forth between me and the underwriter right now that will virtually eliminate buyer's remorse if you do it properly. If they don't have a speaker on their telephone, I will use my iPhone because it does have a speaker on it, and I want them to hear what's going to be said right now. So let's say Adriana's my underwriter, and the phone's come back to me, and she says, okay, Bill, looks like your policy is going to be approved. Give me just a second, and I will give you the policy number. So a few seconds, doesn't take them very long, and I'll hit a button for submit, and that'll generate a policy number. So she'll say, okay, Bill, your policy number is 289-6344. And we're going to have a September 1 effective date. We're going to draft about $105 a month out of her banking account on the 5th day of the month. And then I'm going to say, Adriana, let me read this back to you. So my policy is approved, correct? Yes, I have a policy number of 289-6344. Is that right? That's correct. And then I said I'm going to be effective on September the 1st, and we're going to draft on the 5th, correct? That is correct. So, Adriana, one last question. Now, we don't have any waiting periods for pre-existing conditions, so on what I've told my policyholder is she will be covered as of September the 1st. All of her conditions are covered, correct? Yes. So don't you think it would be okay for us to get the other company on the phone and go ahead and let them know not to draft her bank account in September. Yes, that's fine. She's fully covered September the 1st. Thanks, Adriana. I appreciate it. She hangs up. Now, why do I do that? I don't have to tell you guys why I'm doing that. You guys know, if you've been in this business for any length of time, when the policyholder hears it from the insurance company directly, that's a little different from me saying it, especially if they've never seen me before. So at this point, they got verification from the policyholder that it's even okay to cancel their other coverage September 1. So I take it one step farther. I say, Ms. Jones, now grab your current XYZ insurance card and let's get them on the phone. So she brings her card out. We turn it over on the back. There's a toll-free telephone number there for customer service. We pick that up. We call it. I identify myself as a licensed agent in the state of Missouri, and I'm saying here with your policyholder, Joe Jones. His policy number is 397, whatever it is. And I said, I'm going to need you to tell him or ask him if it's okay to speak to me. So at that point, the other company will verify their policyholder on the phone. They'll give them a bunch of information to identify that they are who they say they are. And then once that phone comes back to me, I'm going to say, you know, what we need you to do is not draft Mr. Jones's bank account in September. He's going to be changing his coverage. The last rate increase is more than he can pay or wants to pay. So please do not draft his bank account in September. He's going to want to cancel this policy as of September the 1st. Do you need me to write a letter to verify that? Most companies will not make you write a letter. There's a few out there that will. But the reason they don't in most cases is simply because the policyholder just verified who he is and give me authority to act on his behalf. So when I walk out that door, and guys, this is so important when you're talking to a new policyholder that you don't have an existing relationship with. When you walk out that door, my policyholder, my new policyholder, has no reason to worry about whether or not he's going to be approved. He's already got a policy number. I've wrote it on his material. He doesn't have to worry about pre-existing conditions. He heard the underwriter say, you know what, no pre-existing conditions. 9-1, he's fully covered. He doesn't have to worry about taking care of canceling his other coverage. We did it for him. So your policy gets issued, your sale is complete, and you can move on to your next opportunity knowing that you've done an extremely good job for the person that you just left. Okay, I'm going to buzz right through this part, guys, gals. This is the same as the kitchen table. This is for more so for call centers or agents who do a lot of selling over the telephone. There's more and more of that going on. There's a lot of agents out there that are very good at selling over the telephone. I do it both ways. Sometimes I get crunched for time and I don't have time to drive 2 hours to an appointment or an hour to an appointment, spend an hour in the house and an hour back. So, you know, what would normally take me 3 to 4 hours, I can do in 30 minutes. So you do a 3-way phone call. You stay on the phone the entire call. You got to be quiet if you're doing a 3-way call. You can help with things like their date of birth or their address if the client doesn't hear real well. But what you cannot do is answer health questions or medication questions. They have to be able to do that themselves. But there's many times I've told them, you know, current address, verified the effective dates of their Medicare Part A, Part B, because I've got it right there. I've already went through it with a client. Little things like that we can help with. Just got to make sure that you don't get involved in the HIPAA-protected information on the health insurance side of it. Make sure you make the sale before you call the underwriting department. If you get on the phone and the client gets on the phone and she starts asking 5 or 6 questions about how the policy pays or where they can go to the hospital, things like this, things that you and I should have already addressed, the underwriter's probably going to stop the interview and say, you know, Bill, you might want to cover a couple of different areas with the policyholder and call back. I've never had that happen, but I know it can happen. So here's some things that what I call is a little cheat sheet. This is some things that will help you prepare not only yourself, your policyholder, and make the interview go smooth. Starting out with Social Security number, they're going to ask that twice. At the beginning of the interview, they'll say, Ms. Jones, can I get your Social Security number? At the end of the interview, they're going to say, Mr. Jones, for verification purposes, could you repeat your Social Security number one more time? So it's very important that Mr. Jones or Mrs. Jones knows their Social Security number. We're going to ask their Medicare number. You and I both know most times that's going to be their Social Security number with a letter at the end of it. Could be a railroad Medicare with a number in front of it. It could be a letter other than A or T at the end, which would specify maybe a deceased spouse or a divorce situation. But we're going to ask that, so they need to have it readily available. The banking information, the medications, the doctor's name and address. Every time we ask one of these that you know we're going to ask, if they have to get up and go get it, that's going to frustrate not only you, that's going to slow the process down, it's going to frustrate the client, and it'll make you say, I'm never doing that again. So anyway, be prepared, and this thing will go so smooth, and you will like what you're doing. And we get a lot of feedback from agents all the time on how good of a process this really is. Just make sure you don't do any coaching, and you'll be fine. The replacement form, you can fax that to 385-207-7882, and that's if you're doing a replacement and there's a replacement form needed. We do not need a replacement form on open enrollment or guarantee issue type of business. Okay, so I want to wrap it up here, guys, gals, with the electronic app. This is a kind of like an e-app process that most companies are offering. The policy is completed online by the agent with the exception of the medical and the banking information. We're trying to convince the TPA that we need the banking information on the electronic app portion also, but so far they're starting to see it our way, but they haven't 100% agreed with us. But the policy is completed by you, and you can do that in the home, or you can do it in your office, or you can do it over the telephone. Underwriting will guarantee a call back to your policyholder within 24 hours. Usually it's within the first few minutes of once you hit the submit button, but you never know. I know they're admitting over $300,000 of premium a day out there, so when you take that into consideration, it might be 5-6 hours before they get called back. Just let them policyholder know that they will get a call from the underwriting department within the next 24 hours. Or you can actually just, after you hit the submit button, you can wait a couple of minutes, pick up the telephone, and call the underwriting department yourself and complete it right there. What that does, stop and think about it, you've already filled out 75% of the application. The underwriter's already got it already neatly logged right in front of them. They don't have to go back and do all that now. All they got to do at that point is verify health and banking information, and it's done. What usually would take 20 to 25 minutes, now it's down to about 9 to 12 minutes. A couple other things where this is really beneficial, AEP's right around the corner, and you guys all know that that's our busiest time of the year. So it's not uncommon. I have done this a couple of times. It's helped me out tremendously. As you might know, sometimes I talk a little too much. And it's not uncommon for me to talk a little too much and find out, oh, man, I'm late for my next appointment, and I'm only halfway through this one. So at that point, if that happens, and it does, I can log all the information on my own application that I took, and I can come back to my office that night, and I can ask one of the girls here in the office, I said, here, get on my website, enter this information, and get it out to the insurance company. Now, if I would just come back and take that app that the client signed and everything, they don't have to sign that in this situation, but say they did, and I just want to snail mail it through the mail. By doing it this way, I move up from a 24-hour underwriting decision to maybe a 10 to 12-day underwriting decision. So there's a lot of benefits by this online express application. The policy number is issued immediately on approval, and a copy of the application is issued in that policy. When you do any type of a telephonic app or electronic app, a copy of the application is neatly filled out at the back of the policy. Again, gets money paid quickly to you and I as agents. We like that. Okay, so here's what you're going to do on your GCU agent website. Bear with me, guys. I'll be down in about 5-10 minutes. You're going to log onto your agent website, and you're going to click on the support key. At the support key, at the very bottom, it says Online Express App, right about there. So you're going to click on that right there. Once you click on that, you're going to see over here where it says Start the Application. You're going to click on that. This is very easy. Even I can do it. Then, if you're licensed in multiple states, all the states that you're appointed in will drop down in a menu box. If you're only licensed in one state, that state that you're licensed in will be the only thing that shows up here, so you'll pick that state, click on it. Then you're going to start seeing things like this pop up on your screen. You're going to have the applicant information, his name, his date of birth, his gender, things like that. Anything that's on that application is going to be laid out on the Online Express app. Every time you see a drop-down menu, it says select, you'll see a little arrow. Click on that, the field will drop down, you fill it in, and go. If you see right here, the little asterisk that says required, then you know that there's got to be something put in there before you can go any farther. You go to the next part of the application, and you're going to see things like this. Where do you want that policy sent? To you or the policyholder? Then we ask about the household resident, yes or no. If it's a yes, a drop-down menu will drop down, and you'll fill in the name, social security number of the policyholder, or the person living there in the union partner, civil unionship, or the could be a brother living with a sister, could be two brothers, two sisters, or it could just be, you know, a live-in. It doesn't matter as long as they're over age 30. And at that point, you're going to continue on down through there, filling out all the information. You get down to the personal information. That's their social security number, their Medicare number. Get all that filled in, height, weight, city, and phone numbers for the policyholder. And you see right here on evening phone, that's an optional. Just like the one directly below that is an email address. Those are optional. You can fill those out if you want, or you don't have to. Keep moving through that, and you'll get all the way down to the bottom, and then you're going to sign it. When I say sign it, you're going to type your name in just like you see mine right there, and sometimes it'll autofill in different places for you, and then you click right here, Submit Application. Once you submit that application, it's just like sending an email back and forth. If you were sending me an email or I was sending you one, this application goes from here directly to the underwriting department. At that point, guys, gals, you can wait just a couple of minutes, make sure it has time to get there, pick up the phone, say, oh, by the way, this is Bill Ellsworth. My writing number is 2200. I forgot the last three numbers, but anyway, give them your agent number, and that application will be right in front of them, and then you're about 8 to 12 minutes away from a policy number. Very easy process. Guys, I tell you, use it to your advantage. Time is money in this business, and I'm here to tell you this is a very, very good process. Okay, as you can see now, the tele-underwriter, the only sections that will not be completed online are the two yellow highlights. Part 8 is a premium admin, and Part 9 is the medical questions. You've already done all the others, so all of that stuff is out of the way. The underwriter doesn't have to go back and redo that. Okay, guys, gals, that's all I have. I'm going to put this up here for just a second. I'm going to ask Todd Weiss to jump in here, and if we have any questions that he hasn't already addressed, if we need to address some, we will, but if not, we'll let you get back to work. So, Todd, what we got?